You are sitting in a softly lit, modern nursery, holding a plastic bottle of premium formula milk, heated to exactly 37 degrees Celsius. You gently rock your crying baby while staring at a digital monitor that tracks their breathing, heart rate, and exact sleep cycles. Your smartphone is buzzing with 20 different notifications from parent support groups, modern pediatric blogs, and online stores selling organic cotton swaddles. You feel completely exhausted, overwhelmed by the sheer pressure of modern parenting standards, and terrified of making a single mistake. But take a deep breath and let us transport your mind back 50,000 years into the deep past. Imagine walking out of your comfortable air-conditioned apartment and stepping directly onto a windswept prehistoric savanna under a scorching sun. There are no strollers, no disposable diapers, no powdered milk, and absolutely no emergency rooms. Instead, you are holding a tiny human infant while a pride of hungry cave lions roars in the distance. For about 99% of human history, this extreme survival scenario was not a crazy thought experiment. This was the raw reality of raising a child for hundreds of thousands of years. How did your prehistoric ancestors manage to keep fragile babies alive in a world designed to kill them? To understand prehistoric parenting, we must completely shatter the modern myth that ancient humans were cold, unfeeling brutes who abandoned weak children. Anthropological evidence proves that prehistoric families loved and protected their children with a fierce, sacrificial intensity. Groundbreaking archaeological research led by Professor Penny Spikins at the University of York has revealed that Pleistocene children were deeply cared for, even when they suffered from severe congenital illnesses. At the famous site of Windover in Florida, and across several Neanderthal burial sites in Europe, scientists found skeletons of children who suffered from severe physical disabilities, but lived for years. This means the tribe spent immense energy carrying, feeding, and protecting these vulnerable infants who could not contribute to hunting or gathering. They did not see children as economic burdens. They saw them as the absolute future of the tribe. So, let us reconstruct a typical day of raising a baby 50,000 years ago. And trust me, it makes your modern sleep deprivation look like a luxury spa vacation. The moment you gave birth inside a dark stone cave, the clock started ticking. There was no paternity leave, and there certainly was not any time to rest. Within a few days, you had to strap your newborn baby directly onto your bare chest using a primitive sling made of rough deer hide or woven plant fibers. You could not leave the baby at home because home was an open wilderness full of leopards, hyenas, and giant eagles. As you walked 20 kilometers across the rocky savanna to dig up edible roots or collect wild berries, your baby was glued to your body, bouncing with every single step you took. This constant physical contact created a completely different biological rhythm compared to modern infants. Anthropologist Dr. Ronald Barr, an expert on infant crying behavior, discovered that babies in surviving hunter-gatherer societies, like the Kungsan of the Kalahari Desert, cry significantly less than Western modern babies. Why? Because their cries are answered within 3 seconds. 50,000 years ago, an infant crying loudly for 20 minutes was not just an annoyance. It was an acoustic beacon that invited every apex predator within a 5-kilometer radius to come and eat dinner. Prehistoric babies evolved to expect immediate physical contact, constant movement, and instant feeding. When a modern baby screams the moment you put them down in a quiet crib, they are not being dramatic. Their 50,000-year-old genetic programming is screaming that they have been abandoned in the bushes and are about to be eaten by a hyena. But how did you feed a baby without grocery store shelves stocked with formula milk or sterilized jars of pureed carrots? The answer is simple and intense. Continuous, long-term breastfeeding. Chemical analyses of fossilized primate and early human teeth, using advanced laser ablation technology, show that prehistoric children were breastfed exclusively for the first 2 or 3 years of life, and often continued up to age 5. Mother's milk was not just food. It was a liquid shield packed with antibodies that protected the infant's fragile digestive system from deadly parasites in wild river water. This created an incredible physical toll on prehistoric mothers. who had to consume massive amounts of calories just to produce enough milk while constantly traveling. This leads us to a counterintuitive evolutionary twist that shatters our modern view of the isolated nuclear family. In today's world, you are often stuck alone in a house trying to balance a job, cooking, cleaning, and childcare, which leaves you feeling completely isolated and miserable. But 50,000 years ago, you never raised a child alone. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer Hrdy introduced the revolutionary concept of cooperative breeding, or alloparenting, meaning other parenting. In a prehistoric tribe of 30 people, your baby was constantly passed around from person to person. Grandmothers, aunts, older cousins, and even adult male hunters took turns carrying, amusing, and soothing the infant. If a mother was exhausted or injured, another lactating woman in the tribe would readily step in and breastfeed the baby. Anthropological studies by Dr. Polly Wiesner among the Juhoansi people show that infants are held by up to 20 different caretakers in a single day. The phrase, "it takes a village to raise a child," was a literal biological necessity for human survival. Without this deep communal sharing of child care, the human species would have gone extinct before the dawn of agriculture. As the baby grew into a toddler, the parenting challenges shifted from survival feeding to intense safety management. Imagine trying to toddler-proof an environment where every single object is a lethal hazard. There were no plastic outlet covers or soft foam corner guards. The floor of your cave was covered in razor-sharp flint flakes left over from making spears, burning embers from the central campfire, and the bones of butchered animals. Toddlers did not have toy blocks or educational iPad videos. Instead, their toys were real, unsharpened stone knives, small animal bones, and sticks. Archaeological footprints preserved in the soft mud of Chauvet Cave in France show that prehistoric children spent their days playing deep inside dark cave systems, mimicking the tracking and hunting behaviors of their parents. They learned how to survive by directly touching danger, under the watchful, collective eyes of the entire tribe. This intense prehistoric upbringing shaped a completely different kind of adult brain compared to what we see today. Modern children are confined to classrooms for 15 years, learning abstract concepts through screens and books, which often leads to high rates of anxiety and physical restlessness. Prehistoric children, however, developed hyperacute sensory awareness and unparalleled emotional resilience. By age 10, a child 50,000 years ago could identify hundreds of medicinal plants, read the invisible tracks of a wounded deer in the dirt, and master the complex social politics of a tight-knit human group. They did not have teenage angst because they were already fully integrated, valuable members of their society, trusted to help the community survive. When we mirror this ancient reality onto our frantic modern lives, the contrast is truly staggering. Today, we have all the physical wealth, medical technology, and material safety that our ancestors could only dream of. Yet, modern parents are lonelier, more anxious, and more stressed than ever before, because we have stripped away the one thing that made prehistoric parenting successful: the village. We have locked ourselves in isolated suburban houses, staring at screens, trying to do everything on our own, and wondering why we feel so incredibly drained. Ultimately, the long night ends, and the golden sun begins to rise over the horizon. You put down the empty plastic bottle, kiss your sleeping baby on the forehead, and place them gently into their soft, modern crib. You walk over to the window, look out at the quiet city streets, and smile as you realize something beautiful. Your baby's instincts, their need to be held close, their fear of being left alone, and your fierce, overwhelming instinct to protect them are the beautiful echoes of a 50,000-year-old story. And as you turn off the baby monitor and finally crawl into your own bed to catch a few hours of precious sleep, you can rest easy knowing that you are carrying forward the most sacred, unbroken tradition in human history.